Hi everyone, so I hope you all people are fine, doing well and preparing well for your UPSC examination. So this video session is going to be there on how to make notes. So again, a lot of confusion is there with respect to notes making, how to make notes, how to make precise notes, what are some do's and don'ts of notes making. So you'll understand the basics of notes making in this class, and we will also see with the help of one particular chapter from M. Lakshmikant how we can make notes from any of a particular chapter. So let's start the class. So let us first understand what is the purpose of notes making and why notes making is very important in this examination. So the very first thing is that notes making is there for memorizing the entire stuff, that is memorizing the vast syllabus of examination. Now what is the meaning of memorizing? For example, you must have noticed yourself that whenever you write something on a paper, then things becomes more easier as far as memorizing the facts are concerned. So whenever we read something, and when we bring that something, when we translate that reading in form of writing, then naturally while the process of writing goes on, entire steps got into our permanent memory, and that helps in memorizing the fact. So this is the first purpose of notes making. Now second purpose of notes making is to convert the entire notes into your own language and your own format. What is the meaning of this point? The meaning of this point is that, say for example, you are reading a book, and that book has a particular language, that book has a particular terms and all. But now when you are converting that entire chapter, that entire topic, in a language which you can understand and which is for your understanding, your format, your style, then that serves the purpose of notes making. Now third part is effective revision. For example, say a bulky book is there of 100 pages, and if you extract the notes from that bulky page of 100 pages into say 5 to 6 pages, then when you go for revision, then revision becomes very easier, because it is not possible to revise bulky books every other day. But notes are in such format that we can revise the notes in more frequently. Now another purpose is consolidation of notes. Now what is the meaning of consolidation of notes? Say for example, you are reading a chapter like federalism. Now you will find federalism, this topic, from lot of sources. You will read it from NCERT, from some current affairs magazine, from some coaching material, or from a standard book. Then in notes, you will just, what you will do, you will bring all the steps from different resources at one place. So naturally that helps in the consolidation of notes. And when you will go for the revision of federalism, then you will not have to read multiple books, but all things will be there at one place. Now let us understand the next part, that what are some do's and don'ts of notes making. Now the first point that you should keep in your mind is that go for notes making only when necessity is there, only when notes making is really important. Do not go for notes making just for the sake of notes making, and do not fall into any kind of activity trap. For example, say you find that preamble has been written in a book, and you are simply copying that preamble into your notes, then that will not serve the purpose of notes making. Or say for example, there is a book, and in that book names of all the states and their capitals have been given. Now again, when you will take notes from this part, then you will simply replicate the entire thing. So go for notes making only when that is necessity. For example, newspaper, notes making is not recommended for newspaper. Again, notes making is also not recommended for many parts of the NCERT's books. So please go for notes making only when it is required. Otherwise, that will put you under a high level of burden. And if you do not want to go for notes making, then you can use the highlighter. So highlighter can also work. Say for example, there is a chapter that features of Indian Constitution, and you just want to keep in mind the subheadings within this part. So you can rather than making notes, you can simply put underline over all the subheadings. So that will serve the purpose of notes making itself. Now second thing is, I already explained some part of it, that do not go for making notes from the notes. For example, current affairs magazine, fine. So if you see any current affair magazine in the market, then that current affair magazine is nothing, but that is itself a note. That note has been prepared from different resources, different newspaper, different current affairs portals and all. And if you will again start making notes from that notes, then again this is going to increase your burden. And remember one thing, that to crack this examination you need to save your time and you need to invest your time quite smartly. Next part is that notes is only for your understanding. It means that take note of anything in which you understand that thing, and that is only for your understanding, and that is not for anyone else. For example, say a word is there in a book. Say for example you find a word that is Constitutional Amendment Act. So in your mind you create your own short form, that is CAA. So whenever you will write CAA, other people cannot understand that what is the meaning of CAA. But you will understand that when I write CAA, it means Constitutional Amendment Acts. Similarly, you can write Indian Constitution as IC. So these are those things which you have to develop yourself, and you have to see what works more for you, and then only that will serve the purpose of notes making. Now next part is notes making is an evolving art. Okay, what is the meaning of evolving art? The meaning of evolving art is that whenever you will go for notes making, say for example today you make a note of any of the chapters, say fundamental rights, then you will realize one thing, that after 6 months you will feel yourself that I have written so many stuffs in this my note, and I should not have written so many stuffs. I should have avoided writing some extra points here, or I could have saved my time. So this is an evolving art. As you become mature in the preparation cycle, your art of notes making develops. So please do not be in the impression that from the day one you will start making an impressive note, but that will be an evolving exercise, an evolving art. Next is notes making is an unending exercise. It means that you cannot say that my notes are over and now there is no requirement of add anything to my notes. That is not correct. Say for example you make a notes from money laundering and you write a particular definition from money laundering. Say according to World Bank, money laundering has been defined so and so. But one fine day in the newspaper you find such a beautiful definition of money laundering by NSA of India or by Prime Minister of India, that you feel that this definition is now more precise, and the definition is so good that I can revisit my notes, and now I will replace my previous definition of money laundering with this definition. So this might be a possibility. So please take a note of it, that notes making is an unending exercise, and that will go with you till you qualify this examination. Then there is one caution for you. Please do not update the notes on daily basis. Just now I told you that notes making is an exercise which is an unending exercise, but it doesn't mean that you should update your notes on daily basis. Please do not update your notes on daily basis. For example, say for example you have made a notes on President of India or Prime Minister of India, and you find a statement of Prime Minister of India or activism of PM of India on daily basis, and simply you are noting down all the activism on daily basis in the page of your Prime Minister notes. That is not recommended. Please update your notes occasionally. Please update only that part in your notes which is really required, which has real substance. Now apart from this, you can take a note of this part, this thing also, that it is not advisable to add current affair notes on daily basis in your existing static notes. Please keep the both affairs separately. That is, prepare separate stuffs for current affair and prepare separate stuff for static part, and update the static part from the current affairs only when it is absolutely necessary. Say for example you have written that in India there are X number of states and Y number of union territories, but tomorrow government of India has changed this part. Now this change is not a very frequent affair, and this is occasional. This is like a very rare exercise, and so now you can update your notes from the new number of states and union territory of India, but there is no requirement to change your notes after each affair of the states and union territory. Now next is notes is for frequent revision and parent source is for occasional revision. So please keep this also in your mind, that your parent notes, that means the original notes, is also there for revision, and we should not completely discard the original our source. Now why I am saying it so? I am saying it so for one very prominent reason. See, for example, say you start a book and you start reading from that book fundamental rights. Now if your mind will say to yourself that your purpose is to discard this book completely and you are not going to read this book again in the future, then your notes will become very bulky. Why it will become very bulky? Because your mind will direct you that you are not going to read this book again and you are only going to read the notes in the subsequent revision. Then your mind will extract many points from that book and you will end up in making a very bulky notes. So please convince your mind that I am not going to discard my book completely, but I will use my books occasionally. That means, say for example, if I am revising after every week, then after every week I will revise only from notes, but once in say 3 months or 6 months I will also have a look from my original resource. Now next point which is very important is that make notes only in the subsequent reading and do not make the notes in the first reading itself. Why I'm again saying this so? Because if you will read any of the chapter for the first time, you will feel that everything is important for you because you are listening everything for the first time, so everything might appear to be important. So please do not do this. What you can do, you can make the notes in the subsequent reading, at least in the second reading. For example, say you read a chapter and let's say the name of the chapter is liberty. So first read the entire chapter, then again come back to the chapter, revise the chapter, recall the chapter in your mind, and just mark those things or take notes of only those things which you feel is important to you and which you feel is relevant. Now here one more point is there, that I told you that notes making is only for your understanding. So here say for example there is a sentence that Indian Constitution came into force from 26 January 1950. Now here if there is a person called Peter, and Peter knows this fact already that Constitution came into force on 26 January, then there is no need to make a note of it and there is no need to even highlight this point. But say there is a person called John and John is not at all aware about this fact and this fact is coming to him for the first time, then naturally John will have to underline that point. He will also have to make note from that point. So the crux is that please remember one thing, that we all people are different. We all people have different understanding, different interpretation, different viewpoint, different knowledge base, and that is why notes will differ from person to person, and that is why it is recommended that please do not copy the notes of any of the topper or any of the senior, but make your own notes. That will only serve the purpose of notes making. Otherwise you will be in a kind of activity trap where you will feel that you are doing a lot of things, you are doing a lot of activities, but that activity is not showing you any result. All right, so now we'll move to the next part. So you can see here that I am going to read fundamental duties. This chapter is from M. Lakshmikant. Now this chapter is at least of 4 to 5 pages in original book of M. Lakshmikant. But you can see that the notes which I have prepared from this chapter is simply in 1 page. That is, let us say it. So this is the notes which I have made. So this is just, you can see on my screen that this is just a 1-page note which I have made from this entire chapter of M. Lakshmikant. Now I will tell you how I have made these notes and what is the strategy that we should keep in our mind while making these notes. So let us start reading the book, and from the book I will tell you how to move on notes making and how to approach in this notes making. So let us start the class, that is fundamental duty. So I hope that you people can see on my screen this chapter. Just a minute, excuse me. Okay, so let us see this chapter, and I will read this paragraph, the first paragraph. Okay, so the paragraph is, Though the rights and duties of citizens are correlative and inseparable, the original constitution contained only the fundamental rights and not the fundamental duties. In other words, framers of constitution did not feel it necessary to incorporate the fundamental duties of citizens in the constitution. However, they incorporated the duties of the state in the constitution in form of directive principles of state policy. Later, in 1976, the fundamental duties of citizens were added in the Constitution. In 2002, one more fundamental duty was added. The fundamental duties in the Indian constitutions are inspired by Constitution of erstwhile USSR. Notably, none of the constitution of major democratic countries like USA, Canada, France, Germany, Australia, and so specifically contain a list of duties of citizens. Japanese constitution is perhaps the only democratic constitution in the world which contains a list of duties of citizens. The socialist countries, on contrary, give equal importance to fundamental rights and duties of their citizens. Hence, Constitution of erstwhile USSR declared that citizens' exercise of their rights and freedoms was inseparable from the performance of their duties and obligation. So dear friends, from this entire paragraph, tell me what do you think is important, or let us forget what is the meaning of importance or not. Just tell me that if you want to make a notes of this paragraph, and I told you what is the purpose of notes making. The purpose of notes making is to make it in a form of consolidated form. That means just pick up few words, and those few words should be of that nature that simply by reading the words you can entirely revise this entire paragraph. So here I will just pick one sentence here, that it was added in 1976. That means fundamental duties came into picture in 1976. And again, I will note here one thing, that in 2002, one more fundamental duty was added. All right. Then I will also write here that we have taken inspiration from where? We have taken inspiration from USSR. Now whose features are these fundamental duties? Fundamental duties are features of socialist countries. Now, no major democratic institutions, the countries have this fundamental duty with exception of Japanese constitution. So this much of notes is sufficient from this entire paragraph. Now let us see where I have written this entire notes in my notes making. So you can see here that in my introduction, simply I have mentioned this entire paragraph only in one line. So this is sample of notes making. So see here, I have written introduction. Now I have written 1976. So from here I can draw the conclusion that it came into picture in 1976. In 2002, one more was added. These are features of socialist countries. Japan. In Japan, I have put a star mark. That means Japan is an exception, and we have inspired from USSR. So in this way, I have made the entire paragraph into just one line of notes. Can you see? So this is the style of notes making. Now let us read the second paragraph. So second paragraph is about Sovereign Sin Committee recommendation. Let us read it again. So it says, in 1976, Congress party set up the Sardar Sovereign Sin Committee to make recommendations about fundamental duties, the need and necessity of which was felt during the operation of internal emergency. The committee recommended the inclusion of a separate chapter on fundamental duties in the Constitution. It is stressed that citizens should become conscious that in addition to the enjoyment of rights, they also have certain duties to perform as well. The Congress government at the center accepted these recommendations and enacted the 42nd Constitution Amendment Act in 1976. This amendment added a new part, that is Part 4A, to the Constitution. This new part consists of only one article, that is Article 51A, which for the first time specified a code of 10 fundamental duties of citizens. The ruling Congress party declared the non-inclusion of fundamental duties in the Constitution as a historical mistake and claimed that what framers of Constitution failed to do was being done now. Though Sovereign Committee suggested the incorporation of 8 fundamental duties in the Constitution. The 42nd Amendment Act included 10 fundamental duties. Alright, so let us wait here. Now in this entire paragraph, what are those things that you feel is important, or in other words, what are those points that you should keep in your mind so that you can recall the entire paragraph? So that is very obvious. The first thing that I will underline is Sworn Sin Committee. This is the first recommendation. Now what was the context of this committee? Internal emergency. Again I will underline this. I might underline this the year also. Then what I am going to underline here, I am going to underline here 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act. Alright, earlier in my previous paragraph I only mentioned that it came in 1976, but here I got to know that is what it was, 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act. So now what you can do, you can add this 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act either in a separate paragraph, that is below Sworn Sin Committee recommendation, or you can even add this part in your introduction, which we just made. All right, then it added a new part, so I will underline this part, part 4a, and it added one more article, that is article 51. Now one more thing is there, that the committee recommended how many articles? 8 articles. Okay, 8 sorry, not articles, 8 fundamental duties. But in original constitution, how many articles duties came? 10 duties came. Now let us see how I have written this thing in my notes. So in my notes I have written here Sworn Sin Committee. See, committee I have written in short form, emergency 1975-77. So from here I can understand that the committee was formed in the backdrop of emergency. 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act, part 4a came, article 51 came. Historical mistake also has to be written here, because it is important, because now in 1976 the makers are saying that constitutional fathers have made a historical mistake. So it's important because they are putting a kind of question or apprehension against the constitutional fathers. Then recommended 8 but added 10 by 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act. All right, now let us go here again. Let us go back. Now here, see what is written here. Interestingly, certain recommendations of the committees were not accepted by Congress party and hence not incorporated in the Constitution. These include the Parliament may provide for imposition of such penalty or provision as may be considered appropriate for any non-compliance with or refusal to observe any of the duties. No law imposing such penalty or punishment shall be called in question in any court or on the ground of infringement on any fundamental rights or on the ground of repugnancy to any other provisions of the Constitution. Duty to pay taxes should also be a fundamental duty according to citizens. So what does this entire paragraph tell to us? So we should keep note of one thing, that the committee recommended some more duties, but those duties were not accepted by 42nd Amendment Act. So I will simply note down here not incorporated, and here in these 3 points I will just underline one point so that I can recall entire point. So here we can write here non-compliance. Okay, we can also write here penalty. So if I write only these 2 words, that is penalty or non-compliance, so can I understand this when I will revise this? Of course I can understand. I will get to know that the committee recommended penalty for non-compliance. Then again check on court. All right, so I will write here court and I will also write here infringement. Okay, or what we can also do, we can write this point number 2 in our own words. For example, we can write here check on the power of court. All right, so this will also serve the purpose. Now here we can just underline this word, paying taxes. All right, so let us see the notes again here. So see here, not in Constitution, penalty on non-compliance, non-interference by court, and third, that is pay taxes. So can you see here how I have prepared the notes? And you can see here that the three paragraph are now with me in simply 3 lines. So this is how we have to make notes. We have to convert big paragraph, bulky paragraph in simple format and in minimum number of words, minimum number of possible words. Now, how will we draw the boundary of possibility? We are going to draw the boundary of possibility by our own understanding, by our own style, and by our own capability. All right. So I hope that things are clear up to here. Now let us go back to list of fundamental duties. Now here list of fundamental duties are there. Now you can see here that there are total 10 fundamental duties, okay, and this 11th one also. Now the question is, how should I remember this entire thing? Because we have to remember it also, and I told you that what is the purpose of notes making. Number 1, memorizing the facts, and also number 2, it helps us in revising the facts. So here I will make notes such that I can convert this entire listing, which you can see on the screen, in some format, in some consolidated format, so that we can recall them. So let us start making the format. So let us read the first part. To abide by the Constitution and respects its ideals and institutions, the national flag, national anthem. So here we can just write here, abide, okay, by the Constitution. Here just write, take the word respect, and national flag, national anthem. That's it. Okay. Second, to cherish and follow the noble ideas that inspired the national struggle for freedom. What I will take here? Cherish, national struggle for freedom. Or in my word, I can just write down cherish national freedom. I told you that this is the notes which we make for our own understanding. So I can simply write here, cherish national freedom. That will also work. Next, sovereignty, unity, and integrity. What is the full sentence? To uphold and protect the sovereignty, unity, and integrity of India. So can I tell you to pick only these 3 words, sovereignty, unity, and integrity of India? So if there will be this word, that is sovereignty, unity, and integrity of India in your notes, can't you simply recall that it is of course about India? It is of course about upholding and protecting the unity of India. There is no requirement to write upholding and protecting. There is no requirement of writing India, because we are doing this for India only. Next, to defend the country and render national service when called upon. So what I am going to underline here, only national service. That's it. From national service, I can understand that we have to serve the nation when it is required. Next, to promote harmony and spirit of common brotherhood amongst all the people of India, transcending religious, linguistic, and regional or sectional diversities, and to renounce practices derogatory to the dignity of women. Now tell me, this is a long sentence. What can I extract here? Simply I will extract here the word promote, or I can even leave the word promote, that will also not required. Harmony, brotherhood. That's sufficient. Now what is the meaning of promoting harmony and brotherhood? Of course that will be promoted among the diverse population of India. At max you can also take this word also, dignity of women. So this will now tell you that the citizen should be concerned about promoting harmony, brotherhood, and dignity of India. All right. Next, to preserve, value and preserve the rich heritage of countries and composite culture. So can we just write here rich heritage, composite culture? Yeah, we can write. From this only we can understand. At max you can take this word also, preserve. All right. Next is to protect and improve the natural environment, including forest, lakes, rivers, and wildlife, and to have compassion for the living creatures. So this entire sentence can be just simplified into one word, that is called protect environment. That's it. There is no requirement to write natural environment, forest, lakes, rivers, wildlife. You just, when you write protecting of environment, you can understand what does it mean. Next, to develop scientific temper, humanism, and a spirit of inquiry and reform, just underline the word scientific temper and humanism. this will serve the purpose. You can recall the entire sentence. Next, safeguarding public property and to abjure violence. Just write here public property. Just by reading this word public property, we can recall that it means to save the public property, not harm the public property. Next, to strive towards excellence in all spheres of individuals and collective activity, so that the nation can constantly rise to higher level of endeavor and achievement. So let us see here. The sentence is quite complicated. So to make it simple, I will write this entire sentence in my own word. I can write here excellence of individual and collective excellence of nation. So by writing this a word which I have not extracted just as a copy paste, I can serve the purpose of notes making. Last, to provide opportunities for the education to the child or ward between age of 16 to 14 years, and this was added by 86th Constitutional Amendment Act 2002. Just here underline the word education, 6 to 14 years, 86th Constitutional Amendment Act 2002. That's all. All right, now let us see how the notes look like. See here, simply the entire bulky part of listing comes in just one small paragraph. And let us see here, and can we recall it? Okay, just read. Abiding Constitution and respect to national flag and national anthem. All right, number 1, cherishing noble ideas of freedom. Third, protecting sovereignty, integrity and unity of India. Next, ready for national service whenever it is required. Next, promoting brotherhood and harmony. Next, preserving the rich heritage and composite culture. Next, protecting environment, wildlife, lakes, forest, etc. Next, developing scientific temper and humanism. Next, not hurting the public property. Next, individual and collective excellence, that is excellence for nation. Last, child education, 6 to 14, 86 Constitutional Amendment 2002. So you can see here that I have converted one entire big paragraph into just a small paragraph. So this is what we should make notes. And one more thing here, dear friends, there are many people who will make notes. They will list out these entire points like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Do not do this. Why I'm saying it so? Because when you will list out the things, then again the notes will go in 2 to 3 pages. And when the notes goes 3 to 4 pages rather than 1 page, then again it's very psychological for all of us. We start thinking that again the notes which I have made, that is also bulky like my original source. All right, now let us see how to move ahead. Now this much is sufficient as far as notes making is concerned. Now I will tell you some other tricks here of notes making. So we have covered up to till now. So see here, next headline is features of fundamental duties. So from reading these 4 points, you can again draw the features of fundamental duties. For example, you can just draw here this civic duties, okay, moral precept. In the point number 2, you can just underline this word integral to Indian way of life. From this you can underline that it is not applicable to foreigners, okay, confined to citizens only. So in this way again there will be a new notes for features of Indian fundamental duties. Then again there will be a new notes for this word criticism of fundamental duties. So as I told you previously, just take one point and make your notes. All right, then here see significance of fundamental duties. Here again there are total 5 points. Just note down the 5 points that will serve the purpose. For example, let us see, have I noted this thing in my notebook? Let us see. Okay, all right, see here I have written about features. You can see features in just one sentence. Criticism of, again one sentence. Significance, again one sentence. Now I will tell you about this thing, observation, which I have noted here. and this is my own innovation. My own innovation in the sense that how students can make their own innovation. Say come here. Now, significance of fundamental duties, just take one words from here. Now see here, in this part there is a statement of HR Gokhale, who then law minister. All right, now see what HR Gokhale says. HR Gokhale, the next then law minister, gave the following reason for incorporating the fundamental duties in the constitution after 26 years of its inauguration. In post-independent India, particularly on the eve of emergency in June 1975, a section of the people showed no anxiety to fulfill their fundamental obligations of respecting the established legal order. The provisions of chapter on fundamental duties would have a sobering effect on these restless spirits who have had a host of anti-national, subversive and unconstitutional agitations in the past. So you can see here that I have converted that in this entire paragraph. Mr. H.R. Gokhale says what? He says a very comprehensive statement, but I am going to convert this entire saying of H.R. Gokhale in only one line. What will I say here? I can say here that H.R. Gokhale, that is the law minister, has simply said in one line that fundamental duties are important to put a check against anti-national or unconstitutional agitations. All right, now let us see the statement of Indira Gandhi here. So what it is written here: Indira Gandhi, the then Prime Minister, justified the inclusion of fundamental duties in the Constitution and argued that their inclusion would help to strengthen democracy. She said the moral values of fundamental duties would be not to smoother rights but to establish a democratic balance by making the people conscious of their duties equally as they are conscious of their rights. So you can see that I cannot write a statement of Indira Gandhi as a copy paste because this statement is quite long, but I just simply want to make a note of it so that I can even recall. So for this entire sentence I will simply write here one thing, that Indira Gandhi basically wanted to say that there should be a democratic balance between what? Between rights and duties. That means there should be democratic balance between duties on one hand and rights on other hand. So see here in my notes, see, for H.R. Gokhale, I have written one statement, that is check against anti-national and unconstitutional agitation. For Indira Gandhi, I have written just one sentence, one sentence, that is democratic balance between rights and duties. So can you see that I have converted a comprehensive statement of Indira Gandhi into simply one statement. All right. Now see here, after this, that is this paragraph, you will see one paragraph that is called Verma Committee observation. So again, in similar way, you have to also take a note of Verma Committee. Just extract one word from each point. Now come to notes making. Notes and references. So see here, in notes of references, I could see that there is one statement of D.D. Chawla. So what will I do? I will just take a note of this statement also, and again I can see one more statement, and that statement is from C.K. Thapatri, okay, former Attorney General of India. There is one more statement of A.K. Sen. All right, now tell me where you will put these statements, that is statements of these three people, because chapter is over now. So see, I have made a separate note in my note making sheet, that is called observation. In observation, I put first H.R. Gokhale, then Indira Gandhi, then D.D. Chawla, then C.K. Thapatri, and then at last A.K. Sen. So This is called consolidation of notes. That means in this book, the statements of these 4 people, 5 people, 1 2 3 4 5 people were scattered. They were scattered here and there, and I have simply brought all the 5 speakers at one place and named it observation. So this will help me to figure out what are the comments of important figures with respect to this fundamental duties. So I think I'm very clear to this. You can see I have converted this entire book into a simple notes in the sheet of A4 size. So this is how we have to make notes. And one more thing at last I would just add here, please make your own style of notes making, because that will also serve the purpose of notes making. So we'll see you in the next class. Thank you very much. Thank you.